What if I told you that Ferrari is not waiting to improve, but is forcing a revolution in the middle of April so as not to fall behind Mercedes? Because while many teams take advantage of the break to rest, analyze and prepare calmly, Ferrari has done exactly the opposite. It has turned this moment into a race against time, with tests in Mugello and Maranello that could define the course of its entire season. The big question is this a masterstroke to close the gap, or the sign that Ferrari is already on the ropes since the start of the championship? Because what is happening right now is not normal, and it can change everything. Ferrari has reached a point where it can no longer afford to interpret the data from the garage. It needs answers on the track, and that is why this month of April has become an absolute turning point for the season. We are not talking about simple adjustments, nor a regular development program. We are facing a direct reaction to a problem that the team has detected since the first races. The car has potential, but it is not showing it when it really matters. What Ferrari has done is identify something much more worrying than a lack of pure speed. The SF26, or the conceptual basis that they are developing, is not being consistent. In certain conditions it can compete, even get close to the best, but as soon as variables such as temperature, downforce or energy management change, performance becomes unpredictable. And in Formula One, that inconsistency is what separates you from teams like Mercedes, which have started the year with a much more stable and adaptable base. That's why Ferrari hasn't hesitated. It has decided to use every available day as an opportunity to understand its car from scratch. Mugello has been the first stage of this offensive, not by chance, but because it is a circuit that exposes any aerodynamic weakness without filters. Fast corners, changes in direction and constant demands make any problem with the car's balance come to light immediately. And that is exactly what Ferrari needs, to stop hiding problems and face them directly in real conditions. But the really interesting thing is that this plan does not stop there. Because after pushing the car to the limit in Mugello, Ferrari transfers all that learning to Maranello, to Fiorano, where the focus changes completely. Here it is no longer about discovering problems, but about isolating them, understanding them and correcting them with surgical precision. Every lap, every adjustment, every simulation has a clear objective: to correlate what they see on the track with what their simulation tools say. And this point is key because one of Ferrari's great problems in recent years has been precisely that, a disconnection between what they believe the car does and what it really does. All this also happens under enormous pressure because time is not on their side. The calendar continues to advance, and with it, the advantage of its rivals. Ferrari knows it can't wait to make improvements in 3 or 4 races. You need immediate answers, solutions that work now before reaching circuits where current weaknesses could cost you even more. And this is where this act makes true sense. Ferrari is not developing, it is trying to correct the course of its entire season in a matter of weeks. He is using Mugello and Maranello as a technical battlefield where every kilometer counts, where every piece of information can make the difference between getting back into the fight or being permanently left behind. The problem for Ferrari is not simply that Mercedes is ahead. The real problem is that Mercedes understands their car, and Ferrari is still trying to figure out theirs. And this is where this second act becomes much deeper, because what is at stake is not a one-time improvement, but a total understanding of the car. Ferrari has detected that one of its greatest weaknesses is not only in pure aerodynamics, but in how all the car's systems interact with each other. Cornering balance, braking stability, and above all, energy management are not aligned. This makes the car's performance extremely sensitive to any change, something that already took its toll in the first races. They could not extract the maximum in qualifying, and in the race they struggled to maintain consistency in long stints, which distanced them from a reference like Mercedes that does manage to maintain stable performance in different conditions. This is where the April tests take on a completely different dimension. Ferrari isn't just looking for more downforce or top speed, it's trying to rebuild the car's behavior from the ground up. Mugello has helped them push the car to the limit and detect where that balance is broken. And what they have found is key: the car loses efficiency when it enters certain windows of use, especially in conditions where aerodynamic load and energy recovery must work in perfect synchrony. Therefore, the work in Maranello becomes even more critical. At Fiorano, they are replicating specific situations to understand how small variations affect the overall behavior of the car. They are analyzing how the car responds to different suspension configurations, how the aerodynamic flow behaves in controlled conditions, and above all, how all this impacts the driver's confidence. Because this is another fundamental point. When a driver does not trust the car, he cannot push it to the limit, and that is exactly what Ferrari has been suffering at this start of the season. Mercedes, meanwhile, has built its advantage precisely in that regard. They don't need the fastest car in absolute terms, they need the most predictable car, the one that allows their drivers to exploit each lap without uncertainty. And that is the difference that Ferrari is trying to eliminate against the clock. But there is something even more important in all of this, and that is the risk they are taking. Because when you decide to change multiple variables at the same time, aerodynamics, mechanical balance, energy management, you enter extremely dangerous terrain. You can find a solution that brings you closer to your rivals, or you can destabilize the car even more and make the situation worse. Ferrari is betting big, and it is doing it because it has no other option. They know that waiting is not viable, that following the conservative path would leave them out of the fight before mid-season. That is why this test program is not just development, it is a kind of technical restart in the middle of the championship. And this is where the tension really increases. Because all this work, all this investment of time and resources, will only have value if it translates into immediate results on the track. Not in 3 months, not at the end of the year, now. Ferrari is trying to resolve in weeks a problem that has been brewing since the start of the season. And the big question is whether they have really found the root of the problem, or if they are still looking in the wrong direction. And now we come to the point where all of this Ferrari effort is put to the test. Because the final act is not about what they are doing but what they are about to demonstrate. All the work in Mugello and Maranello has a single goal: to reach the next phase of the championship with a car completely different in behavior, not necessarily in appearance. Ferrari does not need to reinvent the car visually, it needs to transform it into something predictable, consistent and exploitable lap after lap. Because that's where the difference with Mercedes really decides. The problem is that this type of transformation is not always seen immediately, but Ferrari does not have that luxury. The calendar does not wait, and each race that passes further consolidates the advantage of its rivals. Therefore, what they are preparing in these tests is not a progressive evolution. It is a package that must work from the first moment it hits the track in real conditions. Here comes the most critical element of all: validation. Everything Ferrari has worked on, data correlation, balance adjustments, changes in aerodynamic and energy interaction, must translate into tangible results. More cornering stability, better tire management, confidence for the drivers, and, above all, consistent performance in different conditions. If even one of those pieces fails, the entire plan falters. Because Ferrari has been here before. They have developed promising packages that worked in simulation, but did not offer the same response on the track. And that is the biggest fear right now within the team, that all this effort in April will not translate into the real improvement they need. Meanwhile, Mercedes doesn't stop. They are not reacting, they are consolidating. Each race reinforces their base. Each weekend they add information without having to take extreme risks. And that is precisely the pressure that is pushing Ferrari to this limit. So this final act sets out a very clear scenario. Ferrari has bet everything on this moment. He has turned a break into a full technical offensive, compressed months of development into weeks, and pushed his car to the limit in every available test. But now it's no longer about understanding, it's about executing. Because when the car competes again, there will be no excuses, there will be no room to continue testing. There will only be one reality. Either Ferrari manages to get closer to Mercedes immediately, or this month of April will go from being its greatest opportunity to becoming its biggest mistake. Ferrari has made something clear during the month of April. It is not willing to accept its current position, but it is not guaranteed that this effort will be enough to change it. What we have seen is not a simple development program, it is a declaration of intent. Mugello and Maranello have not only been test circuits, they have been the stage where Ferrari has tried to rebuild the basis of its season, directly facing its weaknesses without hiding anything. They have looked for quick answers, concrete solutions, and above all, a total understanding of a car that until now they have not managed to master. But Formula One does not reward effort, it rewards results. And that is where this whole plan comes into its most critical moment. Because Ferrari is no longer in the learning phase, it is in the execution phase. Everything worked on, everything analyzed, everything tested, must appear on the track in the form of real, measurable, constant performance. It's not enough to get close in a session. It's not enough to show flashes. They need to show that they can compete head-to-head with Mercedes on a sustained basis. The problem is that the margin is minimal. Mercedes has built a solid, predictable foundation, and that allows them to evolve without taking big risks. Ferrari, on the other hand, has had to bet big, accelerate processes, and make aggressive decisions to not be left behind. And in this sport, when you take those types of risks, the result is usually extreme. Either you take a leap forward, or you get even more complicated. Therefore, this month of April does not just define a technical improvement, it defines the direction of the entire season. Because if Ferrari has got it right, if it has really found the key to its problems, then we are at the beginning of a comeback that can completely change the narrative of the championship. But if it hasn't, if there are still pieces that don't fit, then this effort won't be remembered as a brilliant reaction, but as the moment when they tried to save the season and failed. And that is the harshest reality of all. Ferrari is no longer seeking to be the best. It is fighting not to be left behind. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.